You've seen the thumbnail, a retiree in a hammock, a beachfront balcony, a caption that says, "Retire on $1,000 a month." It looks incredible. It looks like a dream you can just buy a plane ticket into. So you do the math in your head, sell the house, collect the pension, move to Vietnam, live like a king on almost nothing. That's the fantasy. Here's the problem. Nobody making that video is actually retired here long-term. Nobody making that video pays for health insurance, or a real apartment, or the year their AC breaks down twice. Somewhere, right now, someone is watching one of those videos with a calculator open in another tab. They're subtracting their pension, adding up flights, wondering if this is finally the plan that lets them stop worrying about money for the rest of their life. That hope is real, and honestly, it's not misplaced. Vietnam genuinely can offer that life, but not the version built on a thumbnail number that was never meant to survive contact with a real monthly budget. Today, we're not doing fantasy math. We're doing real math. The actual numbers behind retiring in Vietnam on $1,500 a month. What it really buys, where it quietly runs out, and what nobody tells you until you're already living it. This is the retirement budget nobody puts in a thumbnail. Let's get into it. Vietnam has become one of the fastest-growing retirement destinations in Southeast Asia. Warm climate, world-class food, a healthcare system that's improving every year, and a cost of living that genuinely can stretch a modest pension further than almost anywhere in the West. But can stretch further and $1,000 a month guaranteed are two very different promises. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where your money goes, what a realistic $500 budget actually covers, and the three costs that quietly wreck more retirement budgets here than anything else. Number 1. Housing isn't one price, it's 3 different countries. The first mistake retirees make is Googling average rent in Vietnam and treating it like a fixed number. It isn't. A one-bedroom apartment in central Saigon or Hanoi can run $500 to $900 a month. The same apartment in Da Nang, Hoi An, or Nha Trang often runs $300 to $550. And in smaller cities like Dalat or parts of the Mekong Delta, you can find comfortable long-term rentals for $200 to $350. Here's the gap most retirees fall into. They see a $300 apartment in a YouTube video filmed in 2022, then land in 2026 expecting the same price in a completely different city. Or worse, the same city, 3 years and one construction boom later. Rental prices in Vietnam's popular expat areas have risen steadily as more foreigners move in. The fix is simple. Don't budget off a number you saw online. Budget off a range for the specific city you're choosing, and rent short-term for your first 1 to 2 months before signing anything long-term. That alone will save you from overpaying based on outdated information. Number 2, healthcare is where the fantasy budget quietly dies. This is the one nobody wants to talk about because it's not fun content. But it's the single biggest threat to a $500 retirement budget. Local clinics in Vietnam are genuinely affordable. A basic consultation might cost you $10 to $20. But retirees don't just need basic consultations. They need ongoing management of blood pressure, diabetes, joint issues, the things that come with age. For anything serious, you're not going to a local clinic. You're going to an international hospital, where a single overnight stay can run into the thousands, paid entirely out of pocket if you're uninsured. Vietnam does not currently offer a dedicated retirement visa the way some neighboring countries do, which means most retirees stay long-term through renewable business, investor, or temporary residence arrangements. And health insurance is not something that gets bundled in automatically. International health insurance for retirees typically runs anywhere from $100 to $400 a month, depending on age and coverage level. That's not a small line item. That's up to a quarter of your entire budget before you've paid a single rent bill. The retirees who get burned are the ones who treat insurance as optional because healthcare here is so cheap. It is cheap until it isn't. Budget for insurance first. Everything else fits around it, not the other way around. Number 3, food can be your cheapest expense or your second rent. If you eat like a local, food in Vietnam is astonishingly affordable. A bowl of pho, under $2, a full local meal, $3 to $5. Eating out for every meal at local spots, you could realistically feed yourself for $150 to $250 a month. But most retirees don't eat like that every day. And that's not a criticism, it's just reality. You'll want a Western breakfast some mornings, a proper cup of coffee at an import cafe, cheese, wine, a steak on a Friday night. The moment you introduce imported goods and Western-style restaurants into your weekly routine, that same food budget can climb to $400, $500, even $600 a month. Here's the honest range. If you cook at home using local markets and eat out mostly at Vietnamese restaurants, $200 to $300 is realistic. If you want a genuine mix of local and Western food, closer to $400 to $500. Neither number is wrong, but only one of them fits comfortably inside a $2,500 budget alongside everything else. Number 4. Your long-term stay costs more than the flight did. This is the cost retirees consistently underestimate, because a vacation visa and a retirement lifestyle are not the same category of expense. Vietnam's tourist e-visa is cheap and simple, around $25, valid for up to 90 days. But that's built for a visit, not a life. Staying long-term usually means renewing visas repeatedly, working with a licensed visa agency, or setting up a longer-term residence arrangement. And each of those routes comes with its own recurring cost, typically somewhere between $50 and $250 every few months depending on the type and length of stay. Immigration rules around long-term stays have also tightened in recent years, with stricter enforcement on overstays and closer attention paid to the purpose behind repeated visa renewals. The retirees who get caught off guard are the ones who budgeted for the $25 e-visa and forgot that living here, year after year, is a completely different administrative relationship with the country. Set aside a real annual line item for visas and paperwork, not the tourist price, the resident price. And always renew through a licensed agency, never an unofficial guy who knows a guy. Picture a retired couple who moved here believing their tourist visa story would simply repeat forever. Fly out, fly back in, reset the clock. It worked for a year. Then, immigration officers started asking harder questions about the real purpose of their stay. And what used to be a routine border run turned into hours of uncertainty and an unexpected agency fee to sort it out properly. Nothing illegal happened. It was simply a gap between an old habit and a system that had quietly moved on without them. Number 5. Utilities are cheap until the air conditioner runs all day. On paper, utilities in Vietnam look wonderful. Electricity, water, and internet combined might run you $40 to $80 a month in a modest apartment with light usage. Then summer arrives. Vietnam's heat, especially from May through September, means air conditioning isn't a luxury. For most retirees, it's a daily necessity, sometimes running most of the day. Electricity pricing in Vietnam is tiered, meaning the more you use, the higher the rate per unit climbs. A retiree running AC through a hot afternoon and overnight can easily see their electricity bill triple during peak season. Suddenly, that $40 utility month becomes $150 or more. The trick experienced expats use is simple. Check your unit's actual monthly costs during peak summer before signing a lease, not the landlord's estimate from cooler months. Ask to see previous bills from June through August specifically. That single question can save you from a nasty surprise in your very first hot season. Number 6. Getting around is cheap, but your habits decide how cheap. Transportation is genuinely one of Vietnam's strongest advantages for retirees. A Grab ride across town might cost you $1 or $2. A motorbike rental runs $40 to $70 a month. Even taxis, when you need comfort over cost, remain far cheaper than in most Western cities. For retirees who aren't comfortable driving a motorbike themselves, which is completely reasonable, relying on Grab and taxis daily is still realistic on $60 to $120 a month for someone living centrally and not traveling far each day. The gap opens up with regional travel. Flights within Vietnam are cheap individually, but retirees who travel every month to explore a new city or fly home once or twice a year to see family need to budget that separately. It's not a daily cost, but it's a real one, often adding $50 to $150 a month when averaged out. Number 7. The cost you can't Google. Lifestyle creep. Every one of the categories above has a local price and an expat price, and the space between them is where most founders' $500 budgets quietly fail. It isn't one big expense that breaks the plan. It's 10 small ones. The gym membership, the weekly massage, the imported wine, the taxi instead of the 10-minute walk, the Western cafe instead of the plastic stool coffee shop next door. None of these choices are wrong. Retirement should include comfort, not just survival math. But the retirees who successfully live well on $500 a month are the ones who consciously choose where their comfort spending goes, rather than letting it happen by default in every category at once. Pick 2 or 3 areas where Western-level comfort genuinely matters to you, maybe healthcare and food, and go local everywhere else. That's how the math actually works. Number 8. What $2,500 a month realistically buys in 2026. Let's put the honest numbers side by side. Housing. A comfortable 1-bedroom outside the most expensive central districts. $400. Health insurance. A mid-tier international plan. $250. Food. A genuine mix of local and occasional Western meals. $350. Utilities, including a hot summer month. $100. Transportation. Mostly Grab and occasional regional travel. $150. Visa and residence costs. Averaged monthly. $100. Miscellaneous. Phone plan. Occasional shopping. Small emergencies. $150. That totals almost exactly on $500. Notice what's missing from that list. A beachfront villa, 5-star healthcare, weekly fine dining, and constant regional flights. $1,500 a month in Vietnam in 2026 buys a genuinely comfortable, dignified retirement. Not a luxury one, and not the fantasy from the thumbnail. If you want more travel, more Western comfort, or premium healthcare coverage, a realistic range climbs to $2,000 to $2,500. That's not a failure of Vietnam as a retirement destination. That's just an honest number instead of a marketing one. So, where does that leave you? Retiring in Vietnam on $500 a month is genuinely possible. Not as a stretch, not as a stunt for a video, but as a real sustainable lifestyle for someone who plans with open eyes. The retirees who thrive here aren't the ones who found some secret hack. They're the ones who budgeted for insurance before it was an emergency, who checked their electricity bill before their first hot season, not after, who understood the gap between the tourist visa price and the resident visa reality, and who chose, deliberately, where their comfort spending would go. Do that. And something interesting happens. Somewhere around month 3 or 4, the spreadsheet stops feeling like a spreadsheet. It becomes a life. Mornings at a local coffee shop, an afternoon walk that used to feel unfamiliar and now feels like home. A healthcare plan you don't think about because it's simply handled. That's the version of this story nobody puts in a thumbnail. Not because it's less impressive, because it's quieter, more honest, and, for the people actually living it, worth far more than $1,000 a month ever promised. If this breakdown was helpful, let us know in the comments which category surprised you the most. And if you're planning your own long-term move, check out our other videos on visas, healthcare, and choosing the right city for you. See you in the next one.